Denise, how are you doing today?
Oh, you're not. You didn't know.
Switch ties.
Yeah, because I had to drive.
It just started raining.
Cold. It's not cold. It's kind of a nice day.
Pouring out now.
Yes, it is. Sarah Street, it is.
Honey,
Hey, how are you?
Good, how are you? I haven't read my one I just came.
yes, Judge.
Oh, Arg! What happened to your eyes?
I got a double vision problem.
Oh, sorry to hear
So
that.
I got to wear a patch on one of the other eye.
Oh.
You've been moving it, it was on your other eye earlier.
Yeah, well, I have to because the eyes, if I don't rotate it, the eye starts getting lazy, so.
Yeah.
So I got to go back. Well, it doesn't matter when I have it on, as long as I have it on one.
Yeah, wow. Hope that get fixes
Can we
it.
hear you say yo ho ho in the bottom?
No, I'm not going to hear that, Kelsey.
Need a parrot on your shoulder?
No.
Now commencing the regular meeting of the Board of the Plattsburgh Municipal Lighting Department, October 31st, 2019 is 4:30 p.m. Roll call. Director Armstrong.
Here.
Director Kelly.
Here.
Director Gibbs.
Here.
Director Ensel. Here. Director McFarland is present. Director Moore.
Here.
Director Reed. Manager Tracy.
Here.
Number 1, minutes of the previous board meeting. Resolved that the minutes of the meeting of the PMLD board held on August 29, 2019 are approved and placed on file among the public records in the MLD office. So moved.
Counselor
Ansel, any second?
I'll second.
Director Gibbs. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, we'll take a roll call. Director Armstrong.
Here. What?
Yes. Yes or no?
Adopted,
Minutes.
yes or no?
This is the minutes.
Okay.
That's not trick or treat.
Director Kelly. The lights on.
Yes.
Director Gibbs.
Yes, sorry.
Director,
Yes.
Director Ensel votes yes. Director McFarland votes yes. Director Moore.
Yes.
Director Reed.
Yes.
The resolution is adopted. Number 2, financial report presented by MLD Manager Bill Tracy.
You can see on the graph there that for September 19th, our revenues are still keeping ahead of our expenses. Pretty much for most of the, we went back 6 years there. 2017, 2016, it wasn't so, but since then, we have been keeping ahead there. On the back there, we have the Rex and Zex, if you want to see how much we paid out on that. Pretty much we're nearly 1.5 million we paid out in Rex and Zex so far this year. And before you ask the question, yeah, they're going up again next year, 2%.
And there's another one coming on board.
OREX, they may do by, they're saying now about 2023, but right now they're looking at a carbon tax. And the theory being with the carbon tax is then the Rex, Zex, and the OREX would go away. They would charge a higher price for the electricity.
What if we don't use a carbon source like us?
Hydro is going to be deemed a carbon source because they want the tax.
Sure makes sense.
Yes, well, we're not getting credit for the hydro, so
Yeah.
they want their tax money. What can I tell you?
So we're not going to save money, is that what you're saying?
In this scheme, probably no. We're paying actually about, so far we paid 1.5 million this year, more than we've ever had in the past years. If this follows out to 2030 with their schedule, we'll be paying somewhere between 3.5 and 4 million extra.
That's fine.
Yes, I agree, Councilor.
Anything else on your financial?
No, financially, we're doing good at the moment.
And so resolved that the financial report as read is hereby ordered, received, and placed on file among the public records of the MLD office. Director Armstrong, any second?
I'll second them.
Director Gibbs. Any discussion? I think Manager Tracy said it well. Hearing no further discussion, we'll take a roll call. Director Armstrong.
Yes.
Director Kelly.
Yes.
Director Gibbs?
Yes.
Director Ansel?
Yes.
Director McFarland votes yes. Director Moore?
Yes.
Director Reed?
Yes.
The resolution is adopted. Number 3, resolved. In accordance with the request, therefore, the MLD Board approves to amend the bylaws of PMLD as follows. Article 4, Section 1, place and time of board meetings. The board will conduct.
I'd like to move the resolution, waive the reading and move the resolution.
Second.
Seconded by Director Ensel. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
And just to give everyone context, the only changes to Article 4 are the first two sentences. The current existing language says that the meeting shall be held every third Thursday of every month, and that they shall commence 15 minutes after a common council meeting. So the proposed language ties it to the fifth Thursday of every month when there are 5 Thursdays, and then allows the board chair to set the time based on the open meetings law. So basically gives flexibility to have them either prior to, subsequent to, or any other time of the day.
And of course, you can call a special meeting. I know you may have an instance in a month or two for a regulatory meeting, so.
Any further discussion on this? Hearing none, we'll move to a roll call. Director Armstrong?
Can I ask
Oh,
one question?
yes.
Who's second?
Director Ensel, second.
Okay, thank you.
Roll call. Director Armstrong?
Yes.
Director Kelly?
Yes.
Director Gibbs?
Yes.
Director Ensel?
Yes.
Director McFarland votes yes. Director Moore?
Yes.
Director Reed?
Yes.
That resolution does pass. It did need 2/3 vote. 4, departmental reports presented by MLD Manager Bill Tracy.
Work in progress, pretty much what we've been doing the last 2 months is moving out of Green Street. We're out as of last week. The only thing that we have left down there is some wiring we have to do, and we have to pull the transformer in front of the building and make sure power stays for the wire building, which is gonna come future home of the farmer's market. And we'll take care of that next week. But basically, all our materials and stuff have been moved to 217 Shatter.
Anything else on work in progress, Bill?
No, the only other thing is Protection Alley's going along well. We were gonna have an outage tomorrow, but because of the weather, it's been rescheduled, I believe, for Tuesday next week. And then that should complete the outage issues with the Protection Alley. And there's some odd and ends the contractor has to do, but then Luck Brothers has been working on their portion of that, with the street and the sidewalks.
Great work.
Anything, and now item B is the IEP program.
Oh, yeah, basically, all projects are pretty much finished. The only thing outstanding, of course, the appliance program runs till the end of the year. People are still buying appliances and asking for the rebate. We're waiting on a decision what they're gonna do with the windows in City Hall, the LED lighting. I believe Sylvia is getting a couple of quotes on that to do this room and a couple of other rooms on that. IEP will replace the lighting, the LED. And I think they're also still working on installing some mini heat pumps and air conditioning units in various offices. So other than that, everything else is completed. And we've
those are
still
all
got,
consistent with your task force as well.
and we still have 2 EV chargers that we still have to install here on Lower Court Street, and then when they're finished up there around Upper Court Street past Margaret there, that parking lot, when they finish with the county finishes what it's doing, we gotta put one in there as well. And then we'll put a 5th one when the former Glen Falls Bank building gets torn down and turned into a parking lot.
Any other reports, Bill?
The only other thing is the hydro contract is sitting in somewhere in the mayor's, not the mayor's, excuse me, the governor's office. He hasn't signed it yet. I believe he will sign it within the next 2 weeks. Once that does, then it will then go out to all the municipalities that are part of that contract. Their individual, either the town, the boards, or the common councils will have to vote on signing that contract.
And that would extend the contract to when again?
2040.
Any other reports, Bill?
Nope, that is it. That's all I have, Council.
Moving on to number 5, old business. Anyone have any old business they'd like to bring to the board's attention? Hearing none, we'll move to new business. Any new business? I will say Manager Tracy gave me a tour of the new MLD facility this morning, and I was very impressed. I very much enjoyed it. It's very much an improvement from our earlier facilities. So I know they're still moving in, but they've done a great job moving most of the stuff in right now, and I look forward to seeing how it's certainly coming up to their specifications nicely, correct?
Yes, it is, Council.
Any other new business?
And I have to thank the mayor for helping me and the councilor, Dean, for his work involved in getting that done.
Thank you.
And we're just grateful that taxpayers can end up saving so much money. You saw the facility, they bought it for pennies on the dollar compared to the new construction costs that we would have anticipated otherwise. So we have to, hats off to you and Joel for scouting out and finding that property. What a perfect find. So I do encourage any of you who haven't had a tour of it to go down and check out the facilities.
Any other new business any director would like to bring forth? Hearing none, we'll move on to item number 7, persons addressing the board. Now is the time for any members of the public who would like to address the MLD board. Going once. Seeing none, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Director Gibbs, any seconds? Director Kelly. Roll call, Director Armstrong.
Yes.
Director Kelly.
Yes.
Director Gibbs.
Yes.
Director Ensel.
Yes.
Director McFarland votes yes. Director Moore.
Yes.
Director Reed.
Yes.
And the meeting is now officially adjourned. It is now 4:44 PM.
In our work session today, I'd like to yield. I know that there's a couple of budget hearings that you'd like to continue on with today.
Yes, we're scheduled to have the library and the remainder of public safety, which is Joe's department, building inspector's office.
And I'm going to take off the soap my eye. Have a good evening, guys.
Take good.
Thanks,
Thank
Bill.
you.
Thanks, Bill.
Get better.
So who's gonna go first? Should we rock, paper, scissors?
Library, because I don't think library's gonna be all that long.
That's fine.
Why don't we do
Right.
Why don't we do library first?
Would you like to do the library first?
South.
And are you ready, Ann? Yes, please.
Yes, please.
All right, good evening. I sent you the summary of the challenges and the positives of last year's budget. I tried to kind of explain to you our challenges, flat funding for 4 years, but increasing costs, and a lot of it are the whole city's facing with healthcare and retirement and things like that. So we've managed to make it work. Some good things, we had over 100,000 visitors last year, 14,000 people using the public computers, which with the census coming up, being online, I wrote a grant and received 8 new computers from Lake Placid Education Foundation that will swap out, they'll be more secure, faster. And then we're gonna take a couple of the older ones and set up individual kiosks in the library, like 3 of them, where people can come in and have some privacy and work on it and have tax aid people there to help them. We just found out we're going to get, it's like 99% certain, state education or state library grant funding for capital fund of $299,577. This is out of a $399,436 project, so we're getting our full 75% match. This is for the new roof, running out of waste baskets. A couple new replacement windows from the 70s, an old storage room that we could convert into actual usable space. I think that's pretty much it. So that, I'm really happy to say that we've spent $793,800 on capital projects since 2013. $570,700 of that has been paid for through state construction grant projects. And the remaining $223,000 we've been saving in the form of a capital fund at the library so that we could take advantage of these grant opportunities. So that's, I think, very good news, is that we have not Our debt service is down to $6,400 out of that huge several $100,000 renovation, I think was done in 2004 maybe. So I think for me to say that we've not only maintained the building using great, grant funding that we could possibly, the city owns the building, but we've been taking a lot of care to maintain it. The roof is kind of a disaster. So I'm just glad we're gonna finally get that done. We just did some emergency repair, nothing like at the Crete, like $30,000 a year, but just to get it through the winter where there were some spots where the rubber membrane had just fallen apart. So those are kind of the highlights that I think. We've just begun to negotiate our contract with the union, which the city is as well. We're very pleased with the last contract that we negotiated. It really cut down on overtime, different staffing situations that just were sort of untenable. They, just didn't benefit anyone. So, of course, they want raises, everybody does, and that's gonna be our biggest challenge, is we really don't, we're kind of out of wiggle room in our budget. So we cut last year $13,000 worth of conferences and office supplies, book budget. So we're kind of bare bones, I'm just gonna tell you. So I'll be
And
questions.
I know when we met a couple weeks back to review, we spoke about the usage being up, but were you able to give a percentage of the usage? How many of the users are city residents and how many are non-residents?
I couldn't really track by the circulation, but it looks as though 70% of our registered borrowers are city residents. And that's kind of an inexact science because people move away, they die, they have children. So I couldn't come up with that exact number, to tell you the truth. I think if, in fact, 70% are city residents, to me that establishes a base level which out of city residents aren't costing us additional funding in terms of staffing or building or electricity or things like that. We do get that $99,000 from the state because we serve as the central library. And because of that, we could not charge anyone who was out of the Tri-County area. So if someone's from Minneapolis,
It was just
we can charge
purely,
them. No, it
really
was a
kind of
good question,
curiosity to see of
Yeah.
what. My other question that I have is, you mentioned the 900 children that are registered in the summer reading program, which I think is phenomenal. I think that's absolutely wonderful. But you mentioned that you eliminated fines for children's material. Is there an age cutoff? How is it determined as far as?
It's based on the classification of the material. So public libraries nationwide are doing away with fines altogether, even when it's $140,000 in their budget, say in the city or something. It's based on if the material is considered children's material, it doesn't matter who checks it out. So about age 13, I think, is where we start into the young adult, and those materials are not fine-free. But it's been really widely received, and just, as I said, is removing barriers to information and access to information is the key. So it did cost us probably, I guesstimated $1,200 or something like that. But fines overall, we still bring in close to $10,000.
And are you looking to go the way of then get rid of all late fees? Or is
Well,
this
we
a trial run, or?
don't have that $10,000 somewhere else in our budget. We'd like to, and it might be something that a foundation would like to say, yes, we support this. That's the next step. But I know the board was unanimously in approval of getting rid of the kids' fines. Because really, if you think about it, the kids can't get themselves to the library to return the books, and the parents get upset because the kids have fines and they don't let them check out books, so it goes around.
And have you noticed like an increase in the amount of books being returned?
I think so, and I think the pressure is off the parents and caregivers to say, you can only take one book because we don't want to have fines when we bring it back. Overall, our kids' circulation has gone up, but I attribute that to Mr. Ben being down there, and today he had this carnival, and it was nuts, it was absolutely nuts. I've really, really well attended, and I encountered at least 3 families that had never been to the library before, and they came today for the carnival, so it was interesting. Yeah. Other questions?
You always run a very good budget there. We really appreciate all your diligence.
And we have done all our lights are all now LED. We did that with state money. Yeah, we did that a couple years ago. I don't think it really changed our electric bill much, but, you know, things are expensive.
And do you have any data if the Chapter 1 Cafe has increased traffic in the library?
I think so. We average in the summer maybe 10,000 people a month, and we did immediately see more traffic. I think for them, the fact that we don't open till 9, they're missing that commute, you know, the people that are getting coffee on their way to work. So that's kind of tough for them. We thought maybe a drive up window or something, you know. But they're happy with their business. The middle schoolers this year, they're really great, and they're just, I don't know where they get all that money, but they're all in the coffee bar after school eating cakes and hot chocolates. And, but I think we've gotten a different clientele. We've got a lot of people coming in to maybe do business, meet with somebody, grandparents that have their kids, and they come in and they get the hot chocolate after school or something. So it's been very positive. It's awkward sometimes. We have the computer lab, which is people who can't afford internet, and we have a coffee bar there, and you know, it's an interesting dynamic. I think it's been very positive.
Thank you for everything.
Yeah, thanks, Ann.
Thanks, Ann.
My pleasure. Thank you.
You're up.
Hello? Questions about the budget?
Well, did you just want to walk us through your narrative and?
Sure. Okay, so I hope you all received a copy of the narrative. My overall budget for 2020 is actually down 5.8% from the 2019 budget. That's mainly because of separation pay for somebody who retired this year. That 5.8 will not impact services. Kept most of the line items the same. One of the concerns I would have is our vehicles. We got our fleet of vehicles. We have 2 older vehicles. One of them seems to be headed to the end of its lifespan. But put a word out to the police chief. Sometimes he's got extra vehicles that he's ready to turn over. Postage is up a couple $100 because the new snow law actually requires us to send out those violation notices certified. Those cost $6.50 a notice. Training's
Build
up.
that into their fines.
What's that?
Build that.
Yeah, I mean, it is covered by the fines, but training's up $500. I don't anticipate having to need that, but we have a new inspector who is in the middle of his training process and his certification process. He needs to take 6 courses. He's taken 4 already. 2 more happen next year, and most of the time we can find them local, and so it's just gas money back and forth. He's taking his first 4 in Malone. If they're not offered in Malone, he's got to go to Albany, and that costs a couple $100. That's really all I've got. The rest of my budget is similar or the same as last year.
Now, Joe, as part of the, some of the recommendations that came out of the City Livability Committee, there was a recommendation or a suggestion about having a registry for multi-apartment complexes, and I know that we kind of asked you to look into it, and I know that you and Councilor Schneller have worked on a proposed registry for apartments. I don't know if you can, and that is not reflective of this budget, correct? At
It
this
is
point?
not, no.
Okay. So I don't know if you want to kind of update us on it.
Yeah, would you update the council on
Yeah, sure, just like you
proposal
said,
you're
it's
working on?
a rental registration program we're trying to get off the ground. We're excited about it in our office, working with Dean, and it's still a work in progress, but we have it on paper now. You know, the next steps would be, you know, trying to implement it, and, you know, we have to hire somebody, and, you know, there's a little process there, civil service, interviews, getting them hired, getting them trained.
And that was my next question. Implementation of this will require the hiring of an additional staff member for your,
Yes.
or not staff, but inspector within your office.
That's right.
And the expectation is that the annual registry fees as well as inspection fees will make this hire basically revenue neutral.
That's right.
Wow. Impressive.
Well, I'd like to thank you for all of your work on it. I think it's definitely a step forward and would help to put a lot of the ills aside.
Yeah, you're welcome. We're also working on vacant buildings law, which we're trying to put together to get to Dean as well as the next step. That should help with some other issues that we've got.
Can you give us any information on that yet, or do you want to wait until you and Dean have?
Well, I mean, the spirit of that is, you know, if you have a vacant building, then we want it maintained. We want, there would be a fee to, we want to try and persuade you to actively market it, keep it up, that kind of stuff. So there's, you know, guidelines in there for doing that.
Are there penalties for not complying?
Yeah, there's a fee.
I just want to go back, Joe, a little bit.
I don't have all that worked out yet.
To the registry. We're looking at a startup date of this, or when anticipation, and perhaps Dean, you could answer
We're
when.
far ahead of ourselves until we introduce it, but very early 2020.
As far as introducing it early 2020, or
no,
and having it be
Introducing
in
the
effect by.
Introducing the local law within a matter of weeks, and then making effective or the requirements commencing in early 2020. But I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves.
Sure. Okay. Thank you.
Is there an increase in revenue because of the new noise ordinance?
Not necessarily because of that. My revenue is up fairly substantially this year because of permits and tickets and other stuff. But, not necessarily it's because of the noise ordinance.
Is your office getting a lot of complaints about like the Bitcoin operations?
You know, I've got one active complaint that I've been dealing with. I'll tell you, most of the noise complaints don't come to me because they happen after hours.
Yeah, the police.
So the police deal with 99% of the noise complaints.
I have no further questions.
No.
No, I don't
Yeah.
know.
Thank you, Chuck.
Thank you
you.
so much.
Thank you.
Get
Yeah,
those
I
pictures
tried to
if you could get
forward
them
them,
to Beth,
but
that'd
I'm
be
gonna
great.
have to download them first.
I know that we got notice to them,
Good.
so
Good, all right, I'll let the constituent know.
we're all good.
We're all
Good.
good. I think there will be several members of the City Livability Committee that will be happy.
Yeah, it's very
Thank you, Joe.
responsive.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you, Jeff.
Do you want us to grill you more?
If you have questions, I know that guy, he came 46. Yeah, no problem. Extending that till next year if he's got a plan for it.
I'll send him an email.
Okay.
Continuing on then with the work session, I could entertain, if you'd like, a brief executive session to discuss a matter of ongoing litigation with regard to a major Bitcoin operator and also personnel matter.
Okay. I move that we go into executive session to deal with a matter of personnel issue and ongoing litigation. Do I need to add anything?
Just the personnel involves a particular person.
The personnel issue involves a particular person.
Seconded.
Second by Councilman McFarland, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Their role is often different from ours, you know. You don't know, you never worked in you say thank God.
Well, I've heard some, that's all I know.
Me working with him at a different level than whoever.
Well, and that's what I said to Ed, I said, well, I didn't have that experience, I had no experience, but Ed was quoting somebody, they had that brought before the Board of Health. He was asking me, are those violations, and I'm like, I have never, I mean, a resident. And you don't step in and tell a resident, you know, tell them.
You said, you know what's funny about that is if you compare that to the homeowner.
Right.
The issue is part of it.
Right, absolutely.
But they'll also say there's no jurisdiction over all that jumping around there.
And that's what it goes off to. So I'm gonna meet with Ed again, he's gonna get the last few inspections and we'll talk about it again. I don't know, it just was, some of the things Ed said, you know, Ed, were just, and I was like, it's not even old stuff, I mean, it's not our stuff, it's not old stuff, it's resident stuff. And I know there's a section in there for residents, you know, I'm trying to think your rights will be.
Well, in our code, our maintenance code, what's the responsibility on the resident? Keep their place.
Right.
You know, most of the responsibility is all, you know, with the tenant.
The building and stuff.
Yeah.
But we, as far as I know.
No, that's just the dates.
But, So that was my.
I mean, you want it cleaned up, don't you?
Yeah, I don't want, it's a health department.
Yeah, she
The
was
term
all
that was being used.
Yeah, that's why it's
Hammering the landlord.
There's a park across the street.
And finding the
Well, I
landlord.
wonder if
No,
what
I
he's
think
saying
if I'm-
is based on what his understanding is of
Street that's right on it.
code
She's
enforcement.
And that could be, but that's not the way we brought up to the board of health. And normally, the codes officer is saying,
I've seen that photo.
So,
I will tell you, this is enforcement officer in town of Plattsburgh, specifically told me one time that he didn't want to be drunk with the health department because somebody from the health department was actually removed. It wasn't right.
I can give her a
oh, Richard.
Yeah, you're
Yeah, right.
And so the town of Plattsburgh doing an inspection, a scheduled inspection, and thought it was asked to offer the health department. The owner.
Yeah.
Hey, by the way, we just bring the health department in place so we don't have one time with the health department.
Give me all the details about location before they get to our photos. I don't think actually that was blue.
Sour my relationship with the guy, and enjoyed my life harder, and so.
Yeah, and that does, I remember I was asking that when that happened.
Do you remember?
And that was when we went through the inspection form, and we spent a lot of time getting standardized amongst us to make sure we realized what was clearly in our jurisdiction and all that. Well, the thing is, you know, that's why they send us these.
No, I think I'm done with it for the day.
I never even knew, I didn't even.
But now we have a lot of new people there. And
I was the
wondering
same
how
when I
many
came.
of them-
There's a lot of turnover on the board everywhere. Like,
Where was it next?
Well, I know like Heroes not too happy with that. Aaron Obius is new engineering genius or so Aaron calls him.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They've been working together and he's got tolerated. He calls him whatever. Of course, every time we do business, like, what do you think of this? What do you think of this? I'm like, there's a code out, it's right there. I'll show you the code where it is so that you can.
You do. I just got a email from they did a, community system, assist visit.
Community assist visit.
CAS, 6 months ago. And, I think.
Right.
That's a floodplain administrator. But my building inspector.
Right.
So
Right.
it was really the city engineer.
Yes.
It's always done. In fact, you go on the city website, you'll see floodplain administrator, county variance.
I know,
It's still on.
still there.
Yeah, so, well, I think what, however that got made in our city code, when I go back through some of the stuff, right, I think I see is that Kevin Farrington did a lot of the work on something, got Rick's signature.
Yeah.
You know, okay, so.
I saw your brush.
Now this guy sits down and he wants to look at these floodplain. And he actually said, city Plattsburgh was targeted because their level of, the level of cooperation was really bad 8 or 10 years ago. So
Oh,
they were
wow.
like red flag.
So when Kevin was here,
Canada.
or before Kevin?
You know what happens is you litigate Central America.
Yes.
You know, so that's where it's Canada at that time.
I
I
know.
don't know, you know, it was females.
Yeah.
DEC up to
Yeah, I remember.
community,
Right.
and so all of these
hear an open gov meeting yet? Any more developments this afternoon?
It's
coffees, like half the people in here have coffees.
So then, the nitro
Kenzie,
cold
bring
brew
it
is
up.
where it's at.
Is that what that is, a nitro homebrew?
This is, can I remember the name? It's not concentrated salt.
Don't we have to wait till the other people return?
What is it?
Salted cream, cold foam, cold.
Celtic cream?
Salted.
Oh, okay.
See, those are always the things that like I try a sip of and I like think they're delicious and I want to drink like 4 sips of them, but after that I'm like, this is too much. I need
Where Armstrong is coming.
I don't. Yeah.
She-
I'm not
That's
sure.
why I
Kevin
don't,
didn't
I don't
last.
like, I don't like sweetie, I don't like cake, I do not like frosting. I can't eat frosting, it's too sweet.
Wait,
I'll let you know as soon as I
All right, excellent.
Who's calling me? Why are they calling me?
Oh, okay, that's so restrictions. Has our internet problems been rectified? We got that email from Carl.
Didn't we hear about that last winter?
Isn't Coral Day? I missed the Halloween parade at my daughter's. Wow, we can use speed. That's a very good agenda to action.
Yeah, after that soccer, that didn't come up to my office. No, I heard a year ago.
Oh, you misquoted me in the paper about it. Said I got all those complaints. I didn't get any complaints. The mayor got complaints. I told me that. Cats. Cats.
Right.
He
People
said
were all
I'd gotten
worried.
complaints. I don't think I have. I have gotten people in favor.
I'll follow that up with
I just, I didn't care. Is why. No one's complaining to me. I think they complained to Peter maybe.
What's that?
Cats?
About the law?
So I'm very bad at idiomatic phrases. I always mess them up. And yesterday I was like, there's more than 2 ways to skin a goat. And I'm like, is that the phrase?
No?
And my office was like, he's like, no, it's 2 ways to skin a cat. So I'm like, who skins cats? He's like, according to Facebook, you do. I thought it was really funny.
Oh, and I got remember how I sent Jonathan brought the question about
I still don't have an answer on who skins cats. It's not something.
Isn't that a strange statement?
That is, but it's a very common phrase.
Very strange.
I thought it was goats. But I don't know who skins goats.
We're returning from our executive session meeting. We're discussing a matter of, you don't stand up yet, discussing a matter of regarding an individual person and ongoing litigation with regard to a contract. No decision was made in the executive session. So let's continue back in work session. Is there anybody like to have any extended discussion on any items on the agenda tonight?
On all one of them?
Two.
That was 3. Sorry. I think we're good.
How about committee reports? You've got your regular reports issued to you. Let's begin with governance strategy and city operations. Councilor Armstrong.
I'm just preparing for our meeting next week, getting some feedback from staff on solutions for the old base gym. There is some ongoing work with the climate smart communities, trying to get our actions done, and same old, nothing new really.
City infrastructure, Councilor Moore.
I do not have anything new at this time to report.
I might add on your behalf, Walworth is looking really good, and the lower part where it joins on to Pine, that terrible intersection there has been redone to about 50 feet in each direction. Councilor Kelly's probably seen that on your walk over, a big improvement, and a couple more small little paving projects here and there to go, and then of course, protection will be paved before the closing of the paving plant towards the end of the
I can't wait to see that when it's done.
Nice, very nice.
I think that's gonna be fantastic.
Big improvement.
Can't get much worse, yeah.
Finance and Budget, Councilor Kelly.
Well, we had our library hearing tonight and also building inspector, and both of those went well and were uneventful, which is good. And let's see, next week, I have to pull up the schedule here.
It's governance operations and
Oh,
strategy.
yes, your committee
We're
is
gonna finalize our report,
on the rec complex. right?
and CD and the clerk.
Okay, all of next week?
Mhm.
Wow, fantastic.
We'll have a lot to talk about.
And I'm pretty sure that Matt will be sending his narrative to you at the beginning of the week.
What?
Okay.
Probably work.
If anyone on our council has any budget recommendations, any changes to the mayor's budget, those need to be filed by November 14th. Now, we've had a few already, and that's wonderful if we get those in advance. But anything else needs to be in by the 14th, so we can pass a budget on the 21st
Of November.
of November, yes. And,
Mike, I will not be here on the 21st of November, so I don't know if there's a possibility we might be able to move it to our Tuesday meeting the following week, which is the week before Thanksgiving. Right, we'll be meeting on the Tuesday.
We'll be meeting on Tuesday.
That's the night of public safety.
Is that acceptable to everyone?
Sure.
I can make that work.
Okay,
Thank you.
okay,
Thank
that's
you.
fine.
Thank you. Public Safety, Councilor Gibbs.
Supervisor McMahon gave his budget presentation, his narrative tonight. He also shared with us something he's been working on with Council Sneller on rental registration, and it sounds like it's going to be introduced in the coming weeks with anticipated implementation in early 2020. So I'm looking forward to that. Other than that, I don't have any other updates.
Thank you. Plaster Public Library, Councilor Ansel.
Well, we heard tonight from Director LaChapelle on her budget, and also noted that usage of the library seems to be definitely trending upward, which is always a good sign. And she indicated, though it's difficult to track, that she projects approximately 70% of the usage of the library is from city residents.
And MLD Board President, Councilor McFarland.
Yes, we just had our most recent meeting earlier tonight. The only action item on the agenda was to update the bylaws to match our new scheduling of meetings. MLD is making progress. They're almost all moved in to the new facility on Sharon Avenue. Manager Tracy gave me a tour of it this morning. It's a very impressive building. Everyone seems to be very happy with it. It's certainly sufficient to meeting the needs of MLD, so we're very happy about that. Protection Avenue is progressing. They were planning on burying and getting done all the electrical work tomorrow. However, with the forecast of rain, it's looking like that will probably be next Tuesday or Wednesday. But that should be done relatively soon, so we're excited about that. Other than that, no.
Have we gotten many complaints about the outages and things from people? I know they've tried to do their best as far as alerting those impacted by it. But I'm just wondering if we've received many complaints or...
Not a large number, but the people who were inconvenienced were obviously quite unhappy. But we've tried to impress upon them that this is going to be something that's very good for the entire neighborhood, and if they can just persevere, I think it's gonna be worthwhile. Just thank them for their sense of civic duty to work with us on that.
From what I hear, we have like everything. Some are against it, some are happy about it.
I'm just curious.
Any other items on the agenda you'd like to have some extended time to discuss tonight? Seeing none, I think we can take a 5-minute recess and begin at 5:30.
Oh, I did see her, Michelle. Yeah. That was the same one I was at. You didn't get a picture of my grandma?
You didn't point him out to me.
Did you see each other?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great.
I thought her kids went to a different school.
Well, she did, she went to Beaumont.
Yeah.
But they've always lived in the Bailey district, it's just that they all started out here.
Yeah.
So.
It's a cute school, a great.
I was looking at pictures last night. Yes. Lots of pictures. That's Allie, who's now 44. She was learning how to play the trombone, that's her shape.
Somebody used to go downstairs.
That's Jane.
Oh, yeah. Ready? Look at, I'll show you this. Look at, this is him in grad school.
I've got I never had the beard.
Right.
That was the Euro era.
You know, I saw something
See that? I don't know.
proposed
I'm a candidate that-
months ago to make, you know, the way we always assign Thanksgiving to the last Thursday,
And on the back.
to assign Halloween to the last Saturday of the month,
Very much like San Francisco.
instead of following the 31st, so that you can always have the weekend night for trick or treat for kids. And I thought to myself,
School teachers would love
every
that.
elementary teacher in this country would be rejoicing. And you know what? It would be a really good idea because you can go out, trick or treat with your kids, and you don't have to worry about them having homework or whatever the next day.
Yeah, I'm well aware. It's the spirit of the times, though,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, elementary school teachers will tell you Halloween is not the worst day, it's the next day. Tomorrow is when they will be whiny and
I can't wait.
miserable.
Someone should use a real cutie.
I will.
Yeah, it will be.
So, and then meetings and select boards They were only
You went down?
Yeah, we went down to see her, it was Friday night, yeah. They do things like
I think they may ask if maybe So if we need like say 30,000, I personally think we can only pay 15. And then we pay other people, the town pays maybe another 6 or whatever. So we'll kind of match on a half basis with the county police. So what I think we really need to keep establishing is the city's do our share. Our share of service, 100% can get us. So I think they really have to it's just up the street in Howard Avenue, still it's just as convenient. Yeah, not baseball, not sport too, but I think you're right. Hopefully we can find a good use for it. Wonder who else would like to serve? You may want to get ready. They're already on, which is kind of unfair.
Right, okay.
Starting to leave some deep holes.
Oh, I know, I'm starting to get all misty-eyed.
We can begin our common council meeting for tonight then? Okay. We'll begin tonight with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That's great. Roll call, please.
Mayor Reed.
Present.
Counselor Armstrong.
Here.
Counselor Kelly.
Here.
Counselor Gibbs.
Here.
Counselor Ensel.
Here.
Counselor McFarland.
Present.
Counselor Moore.
Here.
Just a couple of comments. First of all, thank you for the article in OpenGov, and we really want the public to engage in this new software package that we're just starting to put together. We're going to have our first working meeting next week. We've got an intern working on it. Chamberlain Marks has been educating and training the intern to be adept at the Munis side of things too. So, as you know, our hope is first of all it's going to be a great tool for the public to have better access to our budget figures and us as well. And second of all, it sounds like even some of the departments are getting interested in this tool as well. So we're looking forward to that. And Councilor Armstrong and I sat together and discussed with a number of other people of like mind in this region on regional recreational opportunities, and we really appreciate the leadership role the YMCA and other groups are playing in this, along with the city, other municipalities, the county, etc. as well. So I think we're going to see a lot of really good discussions along those lines, which is completely consistent with some of the work that you're trying to do to figure out ways to sustain recreation services as well. So that's all I have to report today. Please continue.
Resolved that the minutes of the regular meeting of the Common Council held on October 24th, 2019 are approved and placed on file among the public records of the city clerk's office.
Moved by Councilor Armstrong, second by Councilor Gibbs. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed.
Resolved that the payrolls of the various departments of the city of Plattsburgh for the week ending October 30th, 2019 in the amount of $63,484.47 are authorized and allowed, and the mayor and the city clerk are hereby empowered and directed to sign warrants drawn on the city chamberlain for the payment thereof.
Moved by Counselor Kelly, second by Counselor Renzel. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. You've had an opportunity during our work session to give your committee reports. Are there any additional committee reports to be offered at this time? Seeing none, resolved the reports as listed are hereby ordered received, and any written reports are placed on file among the public records of the city clerk's office. Moved by Councilor Gibbs and second by Councilor Armstrong. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passed. There's no correspondences or recommendations from boards at this time. Please continue.
Resolved that the bills ordered by the common council for the week ending November 1st, 2019 in the amount of $2,355,247.47 are authorized and allowed, and the mayor and the city clerk are hereby authorized and directed to sign warrants drawn on the city chamberlain for the payment thereof.
Moved by Councilor Moore, second by Councilor Kelly. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. This is an opportunity now for the public to please come and address the council on any issues on the agenda tonight. You can get a copy of the agenda just outside the door if you don't already have one. We do have a relatively sparse agenda tonight, but if there's anything you'd like to come and discuss with us on the agenda, please come forward. Seeing none, please continue.
Beth, I'd like to waive a reading and move to resolution on items 7A and 7B.
Moved by Councilor McFarland, second by Councilor Ansel. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. Discussion on the items itself. Councilor Kelly?
Mayor, the thought crossed my mind when I saw these two resolutions that should we be looking at the 2020 budget and making adjustments?
No, these are still routine adjustments in 2019 to resolve things that might have come up.
Right, that I understand, but if we don't make changes in the 2020 budget, we'll be making the same adjustments next year.
Right, I think Councilor Kelly's point is, should we take this information, these adjustments that we've been making over the past couple of months or so, and kind of adjust our funding in the different accounts within the, so that we don't have to keep making these transfers?
So basically asking
In
if
other
it's
words, that
typical
these
or one-off.
changes
Right.
already been incorporated into next year's budget, so we're not repeating this exercise. Chamberlain, Mark?
Correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, I didn't mean to speak.
No, you said it better than I did. Thank you.
I have to look at it. There's a lot of accounts. So invariably, we adjust a couple hundred accounts every year like this,
Right.
so.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Counselor Armstrong?
Yes.
Counselor Kelly?
Yes.
Counselor Gibbs?
Yes.
Counselor Ansel?
Yes.
Counselor McFarland?
Yes.
Counselor Moore?
Yes.
No travel requests at this time. Are there any resolutions for initial consideration? Any new business or additional council reports? Seeing none, this is an opportunity now for the public to please come address the council on any issue of mutual concern.
Good evening, Mayor Reed and city councilors. My name is Jerry Favreau, and I'm president of the Clinton County Historical Association. And the following statement has been approved by our Board of Trustees. A little bit of background. In 1838, construction of a permanent Army post began on what is now known as the Old Base Museum campus, hereafter referred to as the base. And so began a rich military history. For example, in 1917, the Plattsburgh Idea was formed, now known today as ROTC. Last year, the National American Legion filmed on the base for their 100th anniversary. 9 of the 21 men who formed the American Legion were Plattsburghers. There are 5 established museums on the base: CCHA, Champlain Valley Transportation, Kid Station, Plattsburgh Air Force Base, and the War of 1812 Battle of Plattsburgh. In March of 2018, a committee was formed to promote the base as a destination, a vision that we had discussed for many years. Representatives of the museums, the breweries, the city, the chamber, and the town who were interested in this vision were invited to be a part of this committee. Since that time, we have worked hard to achieve our goal. A Facebook page and a brochure outlining all that is available on the base to visitors were developed. Unfortunately, our efforts to create a vital destination based on our area's amazing history has received little support from the city. In fact, there are a number of instances where the base has been shunned and or ignored by the city of Plattsburgh, and these are: first of all, the signage project. In 2014 and 15, CCHA identified a significant issue with inadequate signage directing residents and visitors to the base. In February of 2015, CCHA did a survey of historic signage in and around the city. A PowerPoint presentation was made to the city in February of 2015. A request for funding for new signage was made to the county in March of 2015, and in April, the city was awarded $6,000 based on a cash match. The city sat on this funding and never moved forward. In October of 2018, CCHA met with the county legislators who asked the city if they would be willing to move the money to CCHA, and the city agreed. The museums, being nonprofits, do not have the cash available to spend on this important project. We are continuing to look for matching funds. Master plan project. In early 2019, I learned that the city agreed to include funding for a master plan for the base in a grant that the city was writing for funding for a master plan for Harborside. I saw this as a real opportunity, as the base needs to apply for economic development funding and other grants to take care of infrastructure issues on all the buildings, including the museums that are in need of upgrades. For instance, the city-owned transportation museum buildings. A key part of each application is a master plan. We were not asking the city to write the plan, just include the funding. We would have done all the work. Then, on July 8th, 2019, I was informed by the Community Development Office the city would not include the base in that grant. I was told that decision was made because the city lacked capacity to administer the grant if it included the base, and because of the uncertainty surrounding the future of the Transportation Museum. I was stunned, since this grant was giving us hope for our future, and I had already received positive feedback from many of those who potentially would have benefited from the master plan. After I was told there was no city capacity to include the base in the Harborside Master Plan funding grant, the Press Republican reported 3 other grants the city had been awarded or would be applying for. Apparently, the city does have the capacity for handling grants, so why not for the base? Further, I learned the city had adopted the idea of a broader master plan for city projects. According to an article in the July 15th Sun, and I quote, adopted by the Plattsburgh Common Council on a majority vote, the idea of a master plan for the city, which will cover all projects, including the DRI plans, and ideas the council has for the future of Plattsburgh, was approved July 3rd. My question is, will the base be included in this master plan? Will we be consulted? To date, there has been no contact on this. The Livable Community Committee project. On April 4th, 2019, it was announced in the press that the council, at the suggestion of Councilor Moore, had formed this committee. Every ward was represented except Ward 1, which is where the base is located. I contacted Councilor Moore with my concerns about the lack of representation. The next night at a council meeting, a representative for Ward 1 was appointed, and I thank Councilor Moore for correcting this oversight. Thank you.
Ms. Favreau, the 5 minutes is it just about over?
I have just a little bit.
Okay, thank you.
I know. The Champlain Valley Transportation Museum situation We are greatly concerned that we may lose this museum. This museum is a very important part of the base, with over 1,100 visitors last year and a big presence on TripAdvisor. We encourage the city to work with this museum to stay open since the buildings are owned by the city and are in need of critical repair. The recreation center situation. We are also concerned that this facility may close. The rec center is another very important part of the base and the whole region. It's more than just a gym. It's a vital community meeting space and provides a sense of community. The last thing the base needs is another decaying building. The old base, the museum campus, not only includes the 5 museums, but so many other attractions as listed in our brochure. The Clyde Lewis Air Park this year's brought in over 300 visitors for an FB-111 reunion weekend. The Honor Flight gathers on the Oval at Veterans Park before each flight. Museum Days in June brought over 500 visitors to the base. That means meals, maybe beds, gas. There's a real huge economic impact on all of our visitors. The base has a strong military history starting in the early 1800s through 1995. When the Air Force pulled out in 95, the old base had been the oldest active combat military installation in the United States. People come from all over to experience our history. In the past 9 months, CCHA alone has welcomed visitors from 23 states and 4 foreign countries. The campus is an important asset to the economy of the region as it draws people from all over the world for its rich history. We feel that the Old Base Museum campus is a jewel in the city and we deserve to be treated as such. We are hopeful that in the future the mayor and the councilors will find that the Old Base Museum campus is worthy of your attention. And I know I went over, and thank you for letting me finish.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other individuals, please come up and address the council. Seeing none, do I have a motion to adjourn? Moved by Councilor Gibbs, second by Councilor Armstrong. Roll call.
Councilor Armstrong?
Yes.
Councilor Kelly?
Yes.
Councilor Gibbs?
Yes.
Councilor Enzel?
Yes.
Councilor McFarland?
Yes.
Councilor Moore?
Yes.
Thank you all for coming tonight. Enjoy Halloween and don't forget to set your clocks back Saturday night.
Do you know in an hour and 15 minutes, we had an MLD meeting, work session, 2 budget hearings, and
PHS? Miss Friend?
I can sign whatever you need.
Mulligan? Oh, Bolin. Tell Mr. Bolin I said hello.